Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over Linken Sphere. I'm going to show you what it does, how to use it, and when to buy it. So first, Linken Sphere costs 4,800 gold, and I would say that's right in the middle of the expensive items. You know, the late game items you're going to have in your inventory into the late game. 4,800 isn't cheap, but it's not ultra expensive either. It's kind of right there in the middle. Now, what does Linkens actually give us? It gives us 16 all attributes, 6.5 health regen, and 4.25 mana regen. And with that, Linkens is a great stat and regen item. It actually has the second best all attributes in the entire game, right behind Scotty, which is actually more than double, which is kind of insane. There are other items like Hurricane Pike and Harpoon, which give you all three stats, just not even, but they give you a lot of them, so keep that in mind. But in terms of just straight all attributes, it's one of the best. And then in terms of regen, it's also really, really good as well. 6.5 health regen isn't a lot, but for any hero that doesn't buy lifesteal or doesn't have any good sustain, this can be a really effective way to stay on the map. And then 4.25 mana regen is amazing for an all-stat item that also has an active and passive component compared to other items like even Bloodstone, Wind Waker, Ethereal Blade. These only give 3 mana regen, and they're like a caster intelligence item. You have to go to items like Scythe of Ice or Refresher to get more mana regen than Linkens gives. So this item is really good for all stats and regen in general. So this regen and stat component is one main reason that you buy this item. Any hero that's going to buy this is going to buy it because they get that regen, they get those stats, and any hero in the game honestly would love to have the all stats and the regen, but the main real reason that you're going to be buying this item is for this passive spell block, and basically every 14 seconds, that's the 14-second cooldown you can see there, it blocks most targeted spells. So you just get one spell that you get to block every 14 seconds, which is very, very good in very specific games against very specific matchups, and I'll go into that more in a little bit. But you can also use this as an active component where you actually transfer the Linkens to an ally. So even though it is kind of like a passive item that just sits in your inventory, you can actually use it on an ally to give them a Linkens as well. So it's not just a selfish solo item. If you buy it, like let's say as a support, you can potentially place it on an ally to help them out if they don't have the space or the money to actually buy it for themselves. So to show you how Linkens actually works, I picked Weaver here, a hero that loves to buy Linkens. Not every game, but I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And I picked as the enemy a Doom because Doom is a perfect example of a hero that you want to buy Linkens against because this hero has an ultimate that is a single target ability that you would love to block. So it's really straightforward. We have Linkens here passively just sitting on the Weaver, and then the Doom has ultimate Doom, and he can just click it single target on the Weaver, and then it blocks with that animation and that noise. You can see it's now on cooldown, and so now the Doom is on cooldown for the Doom, and he just doesn't have it anymore, and it was blocked from the Weaver. Once this goes off cooldown, we can kind of refresh there. We can actually place this on the allied Doom here, and you can see that that ends up having this animation and this buff here for the Doom, and the same thing can apply if we have this enemy Doom and we place it right there. It will block, and kind of the animation will be removed, the debuff will be removed, and it will block for an ally as well. So it's pretty straightforward. You just have it in your inventory passively if you want it to benefit you, and you can put it on allies if you want to block enemy spells for them. Now, in terms of heroes that like to buy Linkens, there are kind of two ways to think about it. There are these heroes, which I'll talk about in a second, that love to buy the item because it just works really well with their kit. And then the second aspect of Linkens is that it's not necessarily the heroes that like to buy it themselves, but the matchups that they're buying it against. And so first, we're going to talk about the heroes that like to buy it, and those that like to buy it are a hero like Weaver or Morphling. These are two heroes that are quintessential, kind of perfect examples of Linkens buyers because they love to have that regen, they love to have that stats as a carry hero to just stay on the map, to have extra mana regen because they're using spells a ton, but really it's about like the ultimate and the survivability for Weaver and the ability to shift for Morphling. So if they just block one single stun, then Weaver can get off his ultimate or Morph can get off that attribute shift to make sure that they survive and become tanky and will just not get bursted full to zero. And so that's why Linkens can be very, very good on heroes like this that have some kind of survivability mechanic where they just need to get off this one spell, and then it's very hard to bring them down. But then on the other side of that, like I said, it's not necessarily always hero specific, although some heroes do like to buy it like I just talked about. Pretty much any carry hero, any core hero, and even any support, depending on the situation, if it goes late game, if they have enough money, can buy Linkens in specific matchups, like for instance, against Doom. And Doom is just a perfect example example because this is a single target spell, probably the best single target spell in the entire game. Maybe something like a Necro Alt would be another one. And so if you're against these kinds of heroes where they're just one single target spell is a huge component of their kit, then Linken's can be a great item to buy against those heroes. But you do have to watch out, because let's say there is a Doom on the enemy team, but there's also a Lion, and they also have a Shadow Shaman as a support, and they also have other cores that have single target spells as well. Let's say there's like 10 plus single target spells on the enemy team. Well, Linken's at that point doesn't become that good, because yes, they might have a Doom, but that Linken's can get popped by so many different abilities that it actually ends up becoming less valuable. So really, Linken's is better for heroes when there are fewer single target spells on the enemy, and you really only want to block one of those key spells. It could even just be a simple stun, but if the enemy only has 2 single target stuns, then buying a Linken's pretty much guarantees that you're going to block 50% of the enemy stuns, which is pretty insane compared to, let's say, if they have 10 stuns or something like that, and you buy a Linken's, you are only really guaranteed to block 10% of those stuns, which obviously you can see the difference there. So it is very matchup dependent, or if the enemy has a lot of AoE stuns or lockdown or spells, like let's say there's Faceless Void or Enigma or Magnus or even other general AoE stuff in the game, then buying a Linken's usually isn't great at that point, because yeah, you might have another single target stun or something here or there that you want to block, but overall you're probably going to die, let's say, as a carry by just getting ulted by Faceless Void or Black Hold. And so that's the real thing you need to worry about, and having a Linken's for those specific situations isn't really that important. So again, certain heroes like to buy it, like Weaver, Morphling, those kinds of heroes, but a lot of the times it is situationally based on what the enemy has, what their matchup is, what their lineup is, how many stuns and single target abilities and those kinds of things that they have, and how much that threatens you as a carry or as a mid or even as a support that you want to help out your teammates with. Then in terms of how and when to build Linken's, we can see here that it's made from Ultimate Orb, Perseverance, and a recipe, and actually the Perseverance is made from Ring of Health and Voidstone, so it's actually made up of 4 components. It's just 2 of those components combined to make another one, and overall you're going to be buying the Ultimate Orb last, other than the recipe of course, but the Ultimate Orb is very expensive, one of the most expensive single, basic secret shop items in the entire game. We can see Ultimate Orb, Mystic Staff, Reaver, Eagle Song all cost the same amount. Really, Sacred Relic is the only thing more expensive. So this is a very expensive item. Yes, it gives you attributes, but for the most part, you're going to want to buy one of Ring of Health or Voidstone pretty early on, whether it's early in the game. If you know you're going to go for a Linken's, you can totally buy one of these in the laning stage. Let's say you need health in the lane, you can totally buy Ring of Health in the lane to just sustain you and not have to buy tangos. Or let's say health is not a problem for you, so you just want to buy Voidstone early on to get extra mana regen to spam spells. You can totally do that if you know you're going to buy Linken's. Or if it is like a 3rd, 4th item, you probably want to buy one of these first so that you can get the Perseverance first, just to have that extra regen on the map, even if you're buying it at 30 to 40 minutes and still rounding it out with Ultimate Orb and then finally the recipe. And there really are 2 different scenarios in which you want to buy Linken's. The first is an early game item, like a first item that you're rushing on a hero like Weaver or Morphling. That isn't a super popular build. It was maybe more popular like 10 years ago. Linken's has kind of just become more of a niche item these days, but just to let you know, it isn't something where it's completely unheard of. If you see someone in your pubs on like a Morph or a Weaver going for Linken's first, that's not like griefing or anything. That's kind of a real build that people have done, where in the laning stage you go for Ring of Health, Voidstone, you end up completing the Linken's, you can stay on the map with that regen and the all stats. You're not going to get ganked as easily by a Legion or a Doom or whoever else, so it is semi-viable in specific instances, but it's not as popular anymore. Because really the main way that you're going to be buying Linken's these days is as a niche kind of 3rd, 4th, 5th item, a luxury item late game, when you really just want to block that one spell that the enemy is targeting you with so that you can survive, get off your abilities, get off your items, survive in the fight in general. And so that's kind of the main role of Linken's these days. You already bought your farming, your regen, your BKB, your damage, whatever it is, and this is that luxury item that you just need. You get a little bit tankier, a little bit more regen, a little bit more sustain, a little bit more split push, and most importantly, blocking that one spell that just makes it really, really hard for the enemy to gank you or to focus you in fights. Since that's the main way or the main time you're going to be buying Linken's in most games on most heroes, is like the 30, 40, 50 minute mark. It's like a 3rd, 4th, 5th item, just depending on matchups. And that, everyone, is Linken's Sphere. I hope this helped you better understand the item and when to buy it. As always, guys, if you like the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.